What is up guys, it's Jordan and welcome back to the Ultimate Airsoft Beginner Series. If you've been following along with this series, you already know how to budget, how to get your first replica, the essential rules and safety guidelines, and the best gear and accessories you can get. If you've not followed along yet, then make sure to watch the first 3 episodes right here. Alright, today it's time to take things to the next level. We are going to look at different airsoft playstyles and different fields. Now, if you've never played airsoft before and are really just watching this video, I'd recommend going through the first 3 and then playing a few airsoft games. This way you'll know exactly what you like and what you don't like. And this way you'll better understand what's being said in the video right here. So finding the right field and right playstyle for you will make a massive difference in the fun you're gonna have when playing airsoft. I would encourage you playing at a lot of different fields when you're just starting out. And if you can, playing with a few different replicas and a few different playstyles. Many people just play at one field, adapt one playstyle and think that's it. But airsoft is so much more than that. So make sure you check out a lot of different fields and playstyles. Alright, let's get into the different types of airsoft fields. The first one is indoor and CQB fields. CQB or close quarter battlefields are mostly located indoors or in smaller urban environments. Games on CQB fields are fast-paced, intense, and you'll need some quick reflexes. The engagement distances of CQB fields are mostly very short and most of the times under 20 meters. This means most of the fields require you to shoot semi-automatic and full auto is often banned. To win fights on a CQB field, you'll need aggressive movement, fast reloads and smart positioning. In terms of gear considerations, make sure to check the FPS limits because they're mostly a little bit lower in CQB fields. Make sure you have a movable and lightweight setup, and I would say face protection is the most important here because the minimum engagement distance is so short, so getting hit in the teeth or in the eyes is just so bad. It's very bad. So CQB fields are great for people who like action-packed games and quick movement. But you need to be comfortable with a shorter engagement distance and getting a little more pain. Alright, the second type of field is outdoor or woodland fields. These fields are much larger than CQB fields and are mostly located in big open terrains or in the woods. The engagement distances are mostly much longer, ranging from 30 to 60 meters and sometimes even up to 100 meters. So the FPS limits naturally are a little bit higher to get you more range. Games at outdoor fields and woodland fields are totally different and they're really focused on strategy, positioning and team play. Since cover is mostly way more spread out, players must rely on stealth, teamwork and camouflage. For gear considerations, again, look at the FPS limits because mostly they're going to be much higher than within a CQB field. Look at mid to long range replicas or even sniper rifles, which can really improve that gameplay. Running around with a pistol on an outdoor field, it's a bit of a challenge, let's say that. For these kinds of fields, camouflage is really useful, so look into that. Now, if you love the idea of tactical movement, sneaking up on enemies and great teamwork, then outdoor and woodland fields are for you. Alright, let's get into urban fields. Urban terrain is mostly really nice because they combine the CQB and outdoor fields. They feature a lot of buildings, streets and open areas which require the player to adapt between CQB environments and close range engagements to long range engagements when you're outside. So that's really cool. Again, in urban environments, teamwork and strategy are really important. These fields often also host Milsim events or military simulation events where objectives and tactics play a really big role. I would not recommend going to a Milsim event as a beginner as you're just getting used to airsoft, so also worrying about objectives, tactics, things like that can be a little bit overwhelming. But it's really nice when you get a little bit of experience under your belt. Now, gear considerations to look into when going into an urban environment is a versatile loadout which can work in both CQB and mid to long range engagements. Go for mid to long range replicas or even go with 2, so a sidearm for CQB and a little bit longer range replica for the outside engagements. And make sure to get some really nice boots because the terrains are mostly rough there. So you can roll your ankles pretty fast. Now, urban fields are great for players who love a mix between CQB and the long range tactical play. So If you're into that, look into urban fields. Alright, now that we've talked about different fields, let's look at some different playstyles. Now, of course, every Airsoft player has their own playstyle, and there's a lot of them. And as you go along in Airsoft, you'll likely find a playstyle that suits you best. So don't go for one thing before even playing it. Make sure to play a few different playstyles to see what suits you best. Alright, the first playstyle is pretty much the standard playstyle, which is the Rifleman. And the Rifleman is the backbone of any Airsoft team. This is the playstyle most beginners adopt because it's very versatile and it's easy to learn. Riflemen engage in medium range firefights and often support their team by supplying cover and pushing objectives. Now, the best gear for a Rifleman is pretty much the gear we've talked about in the first few videos. It's a standard AEG, an M4 or an AK, maybe 4 to 6 mid-cap magazines, and of course a plate carrier or a chest rig. Alright, playstyle number 2 is probably the second most played playstyle in Airsoft, which is the Sniper, the long range specialist. Snipers use sniper rifles, mostly bolt action, to take down enemies from a longer range. This role requires patience, stealth, and a pretty deep understanding of things like wind, range, and positioning. I would not recommend this playstyle for beginners as it requires some pretty expensive gear and some pretty high knowledge, but it can't hurt to try it out for a game. So if you can, rent a sniper rifle somewhere on an outdoor field, I must say, with some longer range distances, of course, and just try and play with it, see if you like it. Now, the best gear for a sniper rifle, I would say, is, of course, a good bolt action sniper rifle. A sidearm is pretty much necessary for when you get into CQB environments, and I would recommend a really small form factor chest rig for carrying your mags. Also, an optional thing, of course, is a ghillie suit, but also they can get a little bit expensive, so I would start out with just a normal camo set. I would not recommend playing in your normal hoodie and normal trousers with a sniper rifle, but to just start out and test it out, it's fine. Like I said, snipers rely on cover, and with a bright yellow hoodie on, you don't really have cover in the woods. Alright, the next playstyle is the support gunner with heavy firepower. This player carries an LMG or a light machine gun and can lay really good support fire for their teammate. Of course, an LMG has a lot of capacity, so be sure to buy a lot of BBs if you're going with an LMG, but support gunners are really nice in team-based play, where you can just keep your enemies pinned down and make sure your teammates can get to the objective. So it's a really cool playstyle in my opinion. Now, for the best gear for this, of course, an LMG, a Mark 249 or a PKM are your best options, I think. Get some extra box mags, maybe just 1 or 2 you can put somewhere on your body, and buy a lot of BBs, because these box mags will take 2,000 to 3,000 BBs at once and you'll go through them within a game. So make sure you get a lot of BBs. Alright, next up we've got the Designated Marksman, or DMR. This is a little bit of a hybrid between a rifleman and a sniper. They use semi-automatic long-range rifles with a scope to take out enemies from medium to long range distances. Now, these DMR rifles mostly have a higher FPS limit than normal rifles, but they also have a longer minimum engagement distance. So make sure to check that with the rules of your field. I would say the best gear for this is a HPA setup, which can get a little bit expensive, or an upgraded AEG with a long barrel, so you just get that long range. Also, a good thing to get is, of course, a scope to pick off people at long ranges, and a sidearm. It's not as necessary as with, for example, a sniper rifle, but I think it's really recommended if you're playing on hybrid fields with both CQB and long range distances. Alright, next up is the CQB Specialist, which is a really aggressive playstyle. These players love using speed and aggression to overwhelm their enemies and shoot them first. Now, the best gear for this is SMGs, maybe something like an MP9, or even some upgraded sidearms with extended mags and things like that. Also, make sure you get a lightweight loadout, so a lightweight chest rig or even just a battle belt with a few mags on it. And make sure to wear good face protection, because your minimum engagement distance is going to be really short. So think about that. Alright, the last playstyle is the Recon or the Scout. These are the sneaky ones, but they're also, I think, the least played playstyle in Airsoft. Scouts really focus on stealth, flanking the enemies, and gathering intel. They often use lightweight gear and silence replicas to sneak up on their enemies. Now, the best gear is, of course, something like an M4 or an AK, which is silenced, and an AEG or an HPA setup. HPA setups are more recommended because they can get so silent, it's crazy. Furthermore, like I said, a lightweight loadout and a radio for communication, because if you're gathering the intel, you of course need to give it to the rest of your team. Alright, so hopefully you now know which field and playstyle is right for you. If you like fast close-up action, go with the CQB field and go for the CQB specialist loadout and playstyle. If you prefer longer engagements and tactics, then go for a outdoor/woodland field and go for the rifleman playstyle. And if you're feeling good, then go for the sniper playstyle, but make sure to test that out a few times before you start. If you love teamwork and big operations, then urban fields and maybe even Milsim events will be the best for you. And then maybe even a support gunner, DMR, or even a recon will be the best playstyle for you. Like I said, the best way to finding out your playstyle is by playing different ones, playing different fields and seeing what suits you best and what you like most. This way you'll get the most fun out of your airsoft games. So a few tips for playing on each field type. If you're playing on a CQB field, then make sure to move quickly, use cover and keep your replica ready at all times. If you're playing on woodland fields, then make sure to stay low, move with your team and use natural cover. If you're playing on an urban field, then make sure to communicate with your team, control the buildings and be able to switch quickly between the short range and mid to long range engagement styles. Alright guys, that's a wrap for episode 4. Now you know all about the different fields and play styles that Airsoft offers. It's a lot, so make sure you test out a few and pick the one that suits you best. In the next episode, the last episode, we're going to talk about a little bit more advanced stuff like leveling up your gameplay and making your first upgrades to your replica. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, then make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe down below and drop a comment on which field and which playstyle you're most excited to check out. Alright, I'll see you guys in episode 5. Peace!